surprising when it doesn't. Hey, I think we're live.
I think we're live.
I can see it now. Excellent.
Perfect. Is it showing on your?
Yes.
On your? Yeah, we are live. Okay, fantastic. So very good evening, everyone. Yeah, let's just give it a few seconds, few minutes for people to join in and to connect with us. And in the meantime, I'm going to share it also in our Facebook group, Zero to Dream Job. So we can have our Zero to Dream Job Club also tuning in and listening. So, see, it's a technology, learning every single day.
We are indeed. I mean, the world is changing and we might have to be in that state for quite a while. I'm just aware again of light. Can you see me well, or I can adjust a little bit?
No, I think it's perfect. It's a little bit maybe dark from the other side, but I think we're fine. We can hear you really well. We can see you really well. So
that's what counts.
Exactly. Okay, guys. So if you hear us, if you are watching already, then welcome. Please do say hi. You can pop a comment in this Zoom, in this live below. Tell us where you're watching from. I know we have people following from Europe, from the UK, from different countries, also in North America. So it'd be amazing to know where you are from. And if you are new to these interviews and if you don't know any of us, if you don't know Helen or myself yet, let us do a quick introduction before we start. So my name is Adriana and I am the founder of the platform Zero to Dream Job, dedicated to employees and managers who are looking to find more, I would say, fulfillment, joy in their careers and who want to manage their career change with ease, without the overwhelm, without the stress. This is one of the reasons actually why I also invited a wonderful woman and a guest that I know for some time, who's helped me with my public speaking. Because I personally know that a career change, a dream job journey brings lots of challenges, and fear of public speaking, as we will be talking today about, is, I would say, also one of the quite big fears that keeps people hiding, sometimes maybe even stagnant. I would say not played fully when it comes to their job and showing how amazing they are, what they can do. So Helen, please introduce yourself quickly. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you come from, and why you do what you do.
Oh, hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. The sun has suddenly arrived in the south of the UK, so I hope you can see me well, which is nice after a few days of rain. I'm originally from France, so I'm another foreigner, but I've spent all my life in the UK, and I used to be a drama teacher. And this was very interesting, because you would think that a drama teacher is not scared of speaking in front of other people. And I was fine, you know, Adriana, I was really fine in front of my students, but I always had this sort of fear in front of my peers, the other teachers, when we had meetings and when we gathered for training. And it was absurd, because drama is a subject which is very, very creative, and you can help other teachers by bringing some tools so that they can teach more creatively, and so that the curriculum becomes alive. And actually, I was paralyzed. I was so scared of speaking in front of my peers, and it took me a long time to understand that this fear was holding me back fully. And I can tell you a little story maybe about it. Can you see me well? I still see myself with a lot of...
It's getting a little bit dark, but I can still see you.
You can still see me. Hey, wonderful. I'll just adjust my... Oh, that's a bit better.
That's better. That's a bit better.
That's a bit better. So it's a bit strange to talk to someone, to see someone and can't see them. Especially if it's about public speaking. No, what's interesting is that I realized that for most of my career, I shied away from proper public speaking. So I was okay in front of a classroom. But one thing which really stayed with me, and I often talk about, is running an assembly. So, possibly in the British system in schools, I used to work in a school, we have assemblies. So it's gathering your students as a big group. And usually there is a speaker, and the speaker often talks about something of a moral issue or something good for the school, raising money for the school, or that type of thing. And what I realized in my first school is that it was a big, large secondary school. And I was really, really scared of that assembly, just a place. I used to arrive, and it was this big rack seating. They pulled the rack seating so the students could actually sit down. So a bit like, an artificial
like a stage, or yeah.
Well, you had the stage at the bottom, but it was a little bit like an artificial seating arrangement. They pulled it every morning. The caretaker used to do that. So when you passed it and you touched it, the side of it, it was trembling every time. And the students, it was really noisy. The students went up this stairs and then sat down. And when you looked up, after all this noise of the students, you had all the students in uniform, because obviously in they got uniform, and they're obviously the teachers, and everyone looking very severe. And I remember being at the bottom, and every time I went to this assembly thinking, I will never, ever volunteer to speak at an assembly, because the students was too scary. I was thinking, it's too many students, too many people can check what I'm doing. And you know what? I realized, but this took me years to realize, that I missed out on two counts. First of all, if you were to run an assembly, you were seen by senior management, because they were always there. So people who run assemblies on a regular basis, explaining they were doing a school play or raising money for the school or doing this and that, they had more power. So they got noticed by senior management. So they got promoted. So they had better jobs. And then the students saw you. So when you passed the corridors, even if you didn't teach this group, they said to you, "Hello, miss," or "I heard you did this," or "Oh, I'm thinking I'm joining the school play." And then you had more kudos and more authority amongst students. And this took me years to understand that something as simple as doing 10 minutes assembly and having the courage to say, I'm going to stand there and do something good for the school, could have just transformed my career. And I think it's really important that people, your audience, Adriana, understand, and I'm still trying to find the right place to understand that actually, if you conquer your fear of public speaking, then you make big leaps in terms of making progress in your career, or in changing your career, depending on what you want to do. So it's quite important there. So hopefully it gives you an idea of where I come from already.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really good explanation, and I would say even interesting, because I would never expect the teacher to be scared of public speaking. In the meantime, let me just say a quick hi back, because we have Andrea. And if you're guys watching, I would highly encourage you, don't be scared, don't shy away, be curious. And if there is anything you want to ask either Helen or myself when it comes to public speaking, online visibility, or anything related to the career change, just feel free to pop in your comments below this video. You can ask as many questions as you like. So if you have 2, 3 and more questions, we are here for you. We will come back to these questions at the end of this interview, so please bear with us and listen in, tune in, because this might also inspire you to ask questions maybe you wouldn't have asked or think about before. Okay, Helen, so what I would say, I'm just thinking, from what you shared with me so far, what amazed me were those two things that impact that fear of speaking had on your career development. And you mentioned two things. Number one, it's being visible to senior management. And I think this could apply to anyone who is right now listening, and whatever field you're working with. I think we don't realize that our job, our success in our career, our opportunities don't come just from doing a good or a great job. It also comes from owing that and being able to talk about it, being able to have maybe a little bit of power to influence others, also with maybe ideas for improvements, maybe with vision, or sometimes even by giving a constructive feedback powerfully. So what was the biggest trigger? Because you mentioned that these were the two impacts, and people who are watching us, I would assume they are in a similar situation, either thinking of a career change or in a job looking at how can I take my career further. And if fear of visibility is holding them back, I think unless you are pushed out of that comfort zone a little bit, it's nice and easy to stay where you are and think, and maybe sometimes even complain, okay, I'm not good enough and I can do this. But what was the real trigger for you that made you realize that actually, yes, I'm scared, I understand the impact, but I actually want to do something about it?
I think I came to, teaching what is within me. I love teaching and training. And I think that I came to, so like, some of your audience, they will understand that teaching is draining and all, you completely involve all the time. And you get to a point in your life where you think, can I do something else? Is there something else I can offer which possibly will support me and my well-being and my needs more? And I think I wasn't feeling that after a while. I think it was you give, but there's not enough. You don't receive enough to get back. And I really believe that in life, it should be sort of a 50-50. It should come back to you. And I think I arrived in time in my career where I was just too tired. I was really, really tired, but I couldn't really see a way out. And what I did is I ended up in a women's conference on a self-development journey, really. And I was involved on that conference, and I always remember they decided at the beginning of the conference to put Katy Perry fireworks. Now, I don't know if you know that song, but it's quite, you're fireworks. Fiery. It's very fiery, and it's all about being a woman and standing up for yourself, basically. And I remember standing up with all these women and started dancing, and then I suddenly burst into tears. And I was thinking, oh God, there's something else. I can do something else, and I will have to find it. And on that conference, the word confidence kept coming back, basically. I always had that word coming back. And eventually I figured out that what I'd done in my life as a teacher, I'd helped people to become more confident, either maybe in drama, but sometimes at speaking. And it was my duty to help to carry on that journey, but maybe somewhere else. And it's a little bit later that I realized that a lot of people are really, really scared of speaking in public, because although I was scared, I never really analyzed it to think that maybe other people are in the same situation. See, and so I train as a coach. I'm an NLP trainer and NLP coach and practitioner. And I sort of merge my theatre and drama background with my NLP training to really get deep down into what was holding people back. Because I was thinking, I can speak, but I still get scared. And what is wrong with me? And I had to start accepting things within myself, accepting that maybe I might be rejected sometimes. And it's okay that if not everyone likes me. And, I'm not in the imposter syndrome. I can do the job. And, and why am I always scared? But actually, do I deserve to be seen? It was all these things that I would think your audience would feel. Do I deserve to be on this planet? It was getting to, am I meaningful? What's the point of living? And I had to tap into this question myself and to come out, the other side, to think, actually, I'm okay. I'm just okay just the way I am. And it's okay to speak, and it's okay to look different, to look, funny hair. And today we have a bit too much sun in my face. Okay. But as long as I was going to get myself ready for it, this is one big advice I would give to people. If you have to speak and you are scared, prepare yourself well. Make sure that you know your stuff. Okay. And trust yourself. Believe you can do it. You might not do it perfectly, but just think for a second, Adriana, if you are going to a doctor, how many years of training do you think he will have gone through?
Oh gosh, years and years. I would hope so.
I hope so too, because I want to be. Well, public speaking doesn't have to take years or like this, but you will need to do more and more because it's about practicing and perfecting in a way. I mean, I don't really like using the word perfecting, but practicing and trying again, but you will learn from it. But a lot of people would maybe do a speech or do a presentation, think, oh my God, it was rubbish and I'll never do that ever again.
Okay.
Oh, whoa, hang on a second. Did you engage your audience? Did you help them to understand things? Did they appreciate what you did? And if you ask them, most of the time people said, yes, this was interesting enough. Not always. And then the next time you can do something else to engage the audience. Maybe you can try something a bit differently. And it's about thinking, what did I do well? What could I have done better? And let's work on that. And not spending our time just putting ourselves down and say, oh, this was rubbish.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it doesn't make you grow. But it takes time and effort, and it's having the courage to tap into who you are as a person, really, deep down, not just your exterior. Oh, I'm going to stand there and be, all powerful, but how you feel. It's about how you feel, isn't it?
It's the energy that you give them to people, isn't it? Right. But we will go more into details and tips on public speaking and later on even public speaking online or the online visibility. But before we do that, let me ask you one question. I'd love to know, because in the way how you describe your career change, to me, it sounds like a beautiful story. Very easy. It's just happened. I just realized this, and then I went for this, I went to this conference, and all of a sudden these words came to me, and it kind of flew. It felt very easy, natural. But for many people, career change doesn't happen this way. So what was your, I would say, biggest thing that you had to overcome in order to make a successful career change? What was it for you? What was your number one worry, or number one, worry, I think is a good word, actually.
That's a very good point. I don't mean to make my life as if everything was flowing, because actually it was still a difficult journey to understand that. And at times I was completely bewildered, thinking, what am I doing? What's happening? I think money is a very big issue. And I would really recommend anyone, if you're thinking of doing a business or changing career, to put your finances in order. And to make sure that you have some money to either a financial cushion or maybe some income coming from a property, for example, or relative. And actually, if you don't have any money coming in and you're worried every month and you have changed career, you are not going to enjoy the process of building your business, basically. You're going to find it really difficult to keep to what you want to do, because you'll be always in fear. And being in fear when you are setting up a business or developing a business is not a good place to be. You want to be in a place where you think, okay, I don't have all the answers, but I can just get on with it, and I can work slowly but surely and develop my business. But if you're thinking, oh, I've got to pay my bills, so I think you really, really look carefully into what you need to, how much money you need to have. And you might have to make some sacrifices, or you have to think outside the box. And I'll give an example, which is a personal example, is I transformed. At the time I was thinking I'm going to make a career change. I didn't think I was going to make that much money. So I transformed my garage into a room, which I rent. So immediately I had an income, or as soon as it was done, obviously it took a few months. It was an income which helped me to sustain parts of my finances. And I have no regrets, because this room is still there and still brings me an income. So this is one way of doing it. Obviously, sometimes we have some of us, if you've got a husband who can support you, or a wife who can support you, that's fantastic. But so we're not all in the same place. I would really, really, really be careful with that, because with self-employment also comes the fact that you might not be able to borrow money. I mean, I don't know how it is in your country, Adriana, but in the UK, everything's tighter in terms of borrow money to maybe buy a house.
Credit score.
Or the credit score. So maybe, buy the house now and then change work in a year or two so that you've got a credit, that type of thing. You really have to think strategically. I don't think, apart from that, my room, this garage conversion I did, I wasn't quite sure about that. It took me a bit more time later on to start looking carefully at my finances and be more, but I think it's quite important to do that. And especially because now you might not be scared of speaking in public, but you'll be in fear all the time of not having enough money, and it makes you have your tense, and then it's hard, isn't it? Then you're like a yo-yo. You go, 1 minute it's wonderful, you find a client, the next minute you come down because you haven't got one. It's just and it's so tiring, isn't it? So that's I think my biggest advice, really.
Your biggest advice. Okay. So your biggest, really, I would say, obstacle was to figure out the finances and be financially responsible. So you created kind of free energy maybe around, so you can around yourself, so you have money coming in, some money coming in, right? And you can at the same time start developing the business, because it does take time. Okay. And how did you then, because I think this is sometimes also, I think it's easier when you go from employment to employment, when you're changing maybe a field or a direction. Yes, I think initially you might be struggling with, am I going to be good enough with the expertise and so on. But when you make that jump and you start freelancing, I think the fear is even bigger, because all of a sudden there isn't this one organization that is going to give you, that is going to pay you a regular paycheck, regular salary. You are the one responsible for finding your clients, attracting your clients. So how did you find, in your case, because obviously you mentioned you went from a teaching job, which is very secure, I think, in my opinion, as long as you do your job well and you have a really good performance, there's a job for life, even if it's stressful. And you went into these freelancing, insecure maybe is not even the nice word to describe, but freelancing, I would say, uncertain type of business in public speaking or training. How did you attract your first clients?
Well, there's one or two things there I'm going to pick on, Adriana, if you don't mind, is that I think it was a gradual process. I left teaching as a full-time main career, but I carried on for a long time doing some teaching in some form or another, either, as a supply teacher or doing part-time work for a long time. The problem with that is that you have money coming in, but because you have a lot of energy spent teaching, sometimes the business suffer. So you need to try and find a balance, but for a while you might have to run both of them at the same time. So that's one thing. Afterwards, I would think, in terms of finding clients, it's very much about networking. I think 9% of my clients are still people I meet through a form of networking. Obviously, these days very much online. People that you meet. So I don't know if people know what networking is, but basically meeting other business owners usually, or even, not only is it using your friends and families, but just informally meeting people sometimes brings you either ideas or contacts. And so it's I think starting relatively early, a form of networking where you meet people who can guide you, who can advise you, who might refer you, is really quite important, because the personal touch is actually still very key in what you do. And especially if you do something a bit like me, where people are really scared and they want to work with someone they feel safe with. Once I work with people, I make sure that they are, for example, online. If you work with me online at the moment, you will come possibly through a challenge where I will ask you to do some Facebook Lives, but it'll be in a closed group with the nurturing group, where the rule is that we support each other. It's very much what it's going to be about. So people, by the time they've done a few days where they made their lives and think, oh my God, what am I talking about in my life? And, but because they're supported, they feel okay. And this is really important for me, that you need to do it like that. So that's the reason why I think a lot of my clients come from networking, because they need to have that rapport with me, and this sort of sense that this woman is going to be okay. She's going to look after me. She's not going to make a fool of me if every time I say a word and I speak up. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
I will encourage people to speak up, and it doesn't matter if I make mistake. I don't believe in mistakes. It's like we say in NLP, there is no failure, only feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about trying to, and sometimes about learning together. Because recently with the lockdown, I had to put all my face-to-face work online, and I was a bit, oh my God, you know, I've done videos, I've done Facebook Lives, I've helped people to do that, but I was, oh, this is not comfortable for me. So I did my first few groups who came and worked with me. We worked together. I was making mistakes, you know, sometimes, or doing videos were terrible. and they were saying, you know, I use the teaching tool. What do you think is good in that video? Oh, it's this, or you know, this video you really look terrible, or you said it was a short video and you're talking for 8 minutes. Well, that doesn't make sense, you know, that type of thing. So we're learning together, and that's the beauty as well. It's the support. I mean, I'm much more of an expert than maybe my students, but at the same time, I love this sort of, let's work together, let's make mistakes together, let's try to refine it. Yeah. And the number of people who said, I'm not scared of making Facebook Lives anymore. I'm okay now. I'm just fine. I just need to. Now it's more, what am I supposed to talk about? Okay, well, let's work on this now. You know, let's refine the message. Who do you want to target? So it's building all that together. So networking,
big networking. Okay. Okay, and what was the impact? Because you mentioned that with Corona, with COVID, and I mean, we will touch upon that a little bit more, because what I have observed with people I work with, but also in my working life, a lot of interaction has actually moved online these days, from, you know, just having a virtual meeting with your colleagues, because you are not all meeting in the office, through attending online interviews, because companies, you know, trying to protect the environment and also make it safe for the candidates, they are starting to offer more and more online interviews. But it's also in a business. I think lots of negotiations with clients, with stakeholders, or attracting new clients is now happening through online world, from videos through different conferences, podcasts, even Facebook Lives like this one. You know, if you ask me 4 or 5 years ago if I want to do this, I think I'll be scared like crazy. I think it took me 2 years to actually find the confidence to do this, and I was already 3 years in my business, so I had the expertise. So let's go, I would say, step by step. So let's talk maybe firstly about you know, fear of speaking in a group of people that you know. It could be your team, it could be, let's say, people you know, and all of a sudden you have, where before you were in the meetings, you see each other, you know, it was a lot more natural to interact, because you don't have to think about yourself so much, and you don't see yourself on the camera as well. So what would be your tip? What would be your advice? How to make communication with confidence easier for people, you know, online in virtual meetings?
I think we need to realize, first of all, what it means to be in a meeting. So in an online meeting, like on a platform like Zoom, there's a few things. We have a problem immediately, because we can't see the whole body of, you know, we can't see the whole person. So our brains are trying to figure out what the person is trying to say, not just hearing the words, because communication is not just about the words. A lot of the communication, I never remember the exact figure, but a lot of the communication is actually non-verbal. Non-verbal. So we have this problem immediately when we come online, is that our brain is trying to adjust and trying to make sense of what's happening there. So it's a very difficult one. And the second one is that usually when you go onto a platform, you see yourself. Now it's quite rare. You usually see yourself if you are in a room, isn't it? So you suddenly see yourself. So it's difficult to know where to look. So do I look at myself? Do I look at that? Now, we all have obviously the lens there. Now, the recommendation when you look at all the people talking about Zoom would be to constantly stare at the lens. But it means if you do that, you don't actually see the other person. So, for example, at the moment, if I could stare at the lens, maybe, you know, our audience feels as if I'm talking to them, but I can't see you. So we need to find a sort of compromise. So I do a bit of what I would advise. I do a bit of different things. I sometimes look at the lens, sometimes look at sometimes look at myself. Do I look all right? And sometimes look at the other people. So it's a bit this sort of a little dance you've got to have, and at times it's better to forget about yourself and consider the other person, because you get distracted by your own visual, and you want to focus on what the other person is saying, or the rest of the group. Another way of avoiding that is also in this whole setup on Zoom, especially. I don't know exactly how it works on Teams or the other Google Meet, is that you can put the speaker view. So if you put the speaker view, you only see the speaker. So if you're just listening, at least you're forgetting about yourself. You're concentrating on the speaker. So it's just little tips like that, isn't it? I would also, if you are a manager, don't plan too many meetings back to back. Now, when you go to a meeting in the real world, in the face-to-face world, usually you have to drive or take transport or walk. Then you arrive, you walk through the door, you get yourself a coffee, you walk into the room, you might chit-chat with people, you sit down, and then you have a meeting, and then an hour later you might have another meeting, but maybe it's in another room, another part of the building. Now, we haven't got this many sort of times in betweens to rest. So a lot of managers these days, so if there's any managers there, just be aware not to do back-to-back meetings, because it's too much. You need to allow your brain to just rest a little bit, because your energy is going to be, you know, after a while, going to be too much. And also because we have this, the next things is we're always sitting down. At least you have, you know, the possibility of moving sometimes. And if you're presenting, for example, you often will be standing up in a Zoom, in a face-to-face type of presentation. So all this is about starting to think, how can I maximize the internet? Yes, it's wonderful to be at home and online, but at the same time not kill myself. Plus, the people you're talking to get into Zoom as well. They get bored, they get tired, they get, think about when you have your meetings. The most difficult meetings, do them at a time, maybe at the beginning of the day when people are still fresh. But now at 6 o'clock when everyone is a bit, you know. So start thinking about these little things, and also about things not to distract. Now, the sun today really distracted me. It's a bit better now, I say. And I was thinking, this is terrible, because I have people to speak in public, and actually the lighting and the background, my background is relatively neutral. I've got a painting there, if I was to show you a bit more, is quite important as well, because it will reflect, either for a business or for a company, what the company is all about. So if your background is very messy, or if you're showing all your clothes from your bedroom is not quite right. You want to create either neutral, something relatively neutral, a bit like both of us have done. We've possibly got a painting, but that's it. Or maybe a place where it would be, you know, maybe books, but well organized, because otherwise you give maybe the impression, let's say that you've got a bookcase and it's all disorganized. It looks as if you don't really care and you're not organized. You might not want to say that, but that's possibly the effect you might have. It doesn't look professional enough. You don't want to be over professional, because Zoom has made things much more casual. If the dog walks through the door, well, it's acceptable. If there's a child, it's weird. But at the same time, we still got to think, well, you know, I'm doing business, and people need to see me at my best. An interview would be exactly the same, Adriana. If you are going to be interviewed, a neutral background is possibly the best bet, because otherwise, you know, you could be in trouble. And making sure people can see your face relatively well. You know, it doesn't have to be fantastic light, but a good. And if you don't have enough light, one good tip is to put a light behind your screen. So you've got a light facing you, so you will feel as if the light is in your face, but the audience will or the audience, whoever you're talking to, will see your face much more lit up, and be able to at least, you know, think, oh yes, I can see her eyes, I can see her face.
Recognize,
So lots of little tips there, little things.
Two things that actually I would say caught my attention. Number one, you mentioned these back-to-back meetings for managers. I think it's also crucial for employees to be assertive, and if they have too many back-to-back meetings in one day, it's okay to turn around to the manager and to respond. I'd love to attend this meeting, but it's back-to-back. Please allow me 15-20 minutes break in between, because we are not, we are not computers, we are not machines. And I think sometimes I also see this that many tips are given to managers, but sometimes we forget how to empower employees so they can make the most out of that communication. So I would even say that this same can apply to employees, to be assertive to their managers and colleagues. And if there is too many meetings in the same day, I think it's very healthy actually to prioritize and to only organize as many meetings as is healthy for you in that day, because you need break in between, as you mentioned, for yourself. And a good manager would accept that. A good manager would understand their priorities. But second thing that you mentioned, and it just, oh my God, it just came out of my mind. Never mind, it will come back to me.
This is very interesting, seeing that, because I think we need to remind ourselves that the managers and the companies have got a duty of care of their employees, and that we are going through quite a difficult time, isn't it, in terms of we might be on another lockdown, or some places in England is in a lockdown. We don't really know. It's very uncertain, and it's okay to work online, and the ones who can work online, fantastic. But at the same time, there's always a constant anxiety about I might not be able to see my loved ones or my friends, my family in the next few weeks because we might be in a lockdown. And this creates an added pressure to people. And I think it's really important if you are an employee and you're thinking, oh, yes, I've got to work hard. You need to, as you said, you need to be saying, well, I can't have all these meetings all the time because it just gets too much. And I if you want me to do all this work, yes, but I have to take care of myself and think about my own well-being. And it's funny that a lot of people think, oh, I'm selfish if I ask for something, but no, you have to set your own boundaries. I'm prepared to work a lot, but I can't do back-to-back meetings. I can't, work. We can't work 24 hours a day, can we? I mean, it's not realistic. People get ill. That's it. It's part of it. And we need to think. We owe it to ourselves to look after ourselves and to the company, to the company you work for, really, because otherwise you're not going to do a good job.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, it just came back to me while you were talking what I wanted to ask. So I think you gave some really great tips around how to prepare your setting, how to prepare yourself for the meeting. But you mentioned earlier in our conversation an interesting question, like when you are speaking in front of others, and that is, are you engaging your audience? So what can people, because I think it's a good sentence that people can understand who are more in public speaking or maybe who are a bit more in marketing, but how would you explain to somebody if you are engaging your audience in a very simple language? What does that mean?
Yes, I think let's imagine that you are making a speech or presentation to your company and you're actually online. Okay, so you've put it on a gallery view, so you've got all these heads there.
Colleagues,
it's not, the problem is that I hope at least to think that you're not going to have 500 people in front of you, because it'll be impossible to notice that. But if you've got a small group, it's a question of there's different things you can do to engage your audience. First of all, you can, obviously you might have to start with presenting something, explaining something, but it's often doing things which can help you to see if they are on board. Things as simple as, put your hand up if you've never been afraid of speaking in public, and you put your hand up with it. And because you put your hand up, you encourage the audience to do it and to say, actually, I have been in that situation. Mm-hmm. Or you do the opposite. Put your hand up, you've never had an argument with your partner. And then do people a bit and make you think. Engaging your audience is trying to find a way of still bringing them in. Mm-hmm. Asking question can work. Obviously, depends on the size of the group. These days, you can use a chat. In Zoom, you've got a poll system. I haven't used the poll yet, but it's a good way as well of checking, you know, are you on with me, or, you know, you can use the share screen. I love using the whiteboard on share screen. And initially people think, oh, what am I supposed to do? But when they know what they're doing, they can draw little things, and they can just, you can ask a question and they can write a few words, and they're quite fun, and it makes one giggle. And so it's finding ways of reminding that the audience is there. In a way, how can I say, your presentation is not about you, it's about passing either knowledge or giving guidance, or, you know, and it's never really about you, because maybe someone else could do it, but it's about how the audience can receive your message and make sense of it and use it, or discard it if I think you're talking a lot of rubbish, but hopefully you're not. Okay, and it's very much what I was talking about before. I think for me, I see it as a gift. So you're giving and you're receiving back. So you want this interaction. You don't want them to talk all the time in it, but you need to have that sort of gift, sort of receiving, so that it comes back. And it comes back through people interacting with you, and you finding opportunities for your audience to do that. Questions, put your hand up, asking them to do an exercise. I mean, I do training and suddenly everyone is standing up. And one thing actually quite nice for an audience these days is that if they're a bit scared of doing an exercise and don't want anyone to, I'll give you an example. I do a voice exercise, you know, to relax the muscle, because obviously that's very speaking. Some of them do look really silly because you're stretching your whole face, basically. Well, you know, we all stand up, and I said, well, you don't have to show anyone, just follow my guidance, follow what I'm saying. And you know, and sometimes say, well, can I have a daring one? Can you show me how what you look? And then they'll be, and everyone laughs. So, you know, the very insecure one can still practice without showing. And then, you know, but you'll have one person who thinks, oh, this is really fun. This is really fun. Let's do it. So you can still find ways of making people move and think about it. So, and it's very important actually to keep the energy, to ask
the energy up.
Yeah, to keep and ask different type of questions. And obviously it will depend on the size of the group. A bigger group is more difficult to manage. So, you know, do you need, maybe if I go back to the idea of being a manager, you need to pass on some information, but you want feedback. Maybe I have 2 meetings if you can spare the time, so you've got two groups of people, instead of this massive meeting where actually people might not even listen to you because they'll get bored because you're just talking to them. So this is just a few things you can do to just really think about your audience. For me, there's no point of having a speech or a presentation if it's not a two-way relationship.
It's not an interaction.
Yeah, because you're there for them. You're not there for yourself. You're there to pass on knowledge, information, guidance, ideas, to make people tick, challenge their conceptions, etc. It depends on why you're speaking. And it's very much about, who am I talking to? Who's this audience? And as if you are speaking, you will target your audience depending on which level they're at. So I don't know, if you're talking to bankers and they all know about banking, you're not going to patronize them by talking about something that in banking that everyone knows. Yeah. But if you're talking to someone like me who doesn't know anything about banking, you might need to explain the jargon, for example. And it's fine, it's fine to do that. Just to give you an example.
Yeah, perfect. So we've touched a lot. I think we've touched how to, let's say, be more effective in online meetings. We've touched upon how to prepare the settings for the meetings, for the interview. Few things that we haven't touched yet, maybe could be recording videos and doing Facebook Live. So this could be another good topic that we can go into. But I'm also looking at the time that is today running very, very fast. So I would like to encourage people who are watching to ask questions. We already had a comment from Andrea sharing that, she's already asked the question. Excellent. So we'll come back to that. So yeah, guys, if you still have any questions, this is your time. You have another 5-10 minutes to put the comments in, and then we will answer your questions at the end. So before we continue, then let's touch upon the I think 2-3 things that still interest me, and I would say recording videos. And I remember when I was recording videos for the first time, and it's exactly how you said it. I wanted to record a mini video for 5 minutes, but then I obviously went on for like 25 minutes because I love the subject, and the time was flying. And when I watched it again, I went like, oh shit, like, excuse my French, but this is really how it went, because I thought, my English, I'm speaking with an accent. Sometimes I make a mistake. Sometimes it's just like a blurb, it's like, because you're not conscious of what you're saying when you're recording it, it's just whatever comes out, but because you're recording it, it just goes. So what are your tips for people who, let's say, are freelancing and their way to grow their business is to either record the videos for the content on the website, or maybe they want to post them in their Facebook groups, maybe groups on LinkedIn? So this would be number two. Number two, Facebook Lives, because that's even, I would say, more frightening, because everything is live. If you make a mistake, like earlier at this talk, that was quite interesting. You said, is the light good? And I think if it was me, I would have freaked out. It would make me feel really uncomfortable from the beginning. So what would be then your tips to help people, empower them how to deal with those unexpected hiccups or things that don't go well? So let's touch, I think, upon these two topics, because that could be very helpful for people who want to grow their business using the online visibility.
Definitely. I think what the first, before you even think about videos, or videos or Facebook Lives, is who do I want to talk to? Who is your audience? And is there any point of me talking to them in a way, even before that? Because I'm going to shouldn't really say that as a public speaking coach, but it might not be the best way of communicating to your audience. So you might have to think, well, in all my social media, in all my marketing, is there a need for me to be seen actually physically, either on a Facebook Live or on a video? And that's quite important. It depends what business you are in. You could say every business could do it, and I would agree, but at the same time, some business are more, they need more the personal touch than the others. So in a way, if you're a coach, often it's good to be seen, because people need to buy into you as a person. If you are, and I think a lot of the well-being type of businesses, I think it's quite important, because there's quite a lot of people doing that type of thing, therapists, etc. It's again, they will buy you as a person. So that's quite, I think it's really nice to see you on a video. So once you've decided, yes, actually, I think I need to be there. I need my business to be personable. I need to be authentic. I need to be there. Then who is it you're talking to? So because your message will be influenced by your audience. So you need to, again, I'm sure you know about Adriana, think about either you are addressing a pain point, problem they're having, or you add a benefit to their life, to their lives. Okay, so you could start with, have you always been afraid of speaking in public? Or do you know that so many people are afraid of speaking in public? And obviously, so that you just thinking, oh, they're scared. Oh, I'm scared of speaking. I really hate it. So very much thinking about who you want to target. Then I think after that is, where am I going to be seen? So obviously, if you're doing a video, where are you going to put this video? Is it part of a vlog? Are you going to put it on just straight onto Facebook? Where have you got a business page? Do you want just to keep it to your website? Are you sending it to someone else to be published somewhere else? So where is it going to go? So you need to start thinking about that, because sometimes videos are better than Facebook Lives, or vice versa. Also, Facebook Lives, actually, you can reuse them. Okay, we are going to reuse that if we want to. So as much as you want to be authentic, spontaneous, etc., it's nice to be able to use things several times in your social media strategy when you are in business, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Because if you have defined your audience and you've defined your message, then you will be targeting the same people, then your message will be consistent with that. It'll be, you know, so you may as well reuse some of the videos you make. Once you have addressed all this, who is your audience? Well, you also have to think, what am I going to talk about? I would, as a starting point, I would just say, just either come live somewhere you feel safe enough, a group maybe that you feel is okay, not necessarily straight away on your business page or your personal page. Personal page is very scary because you think, oh, all my friends, what are they going to think of me now? Come live. So go maybe to a networking group that you've started to talk to and say, hello, it's me. And you can just be so simple, do such a simple video. It's me, I'm doing this. I just thought I'll come live, and don't stay too long because you'll be going, oh, you know, what have I done? Okay, and it's fine. It's fine, and people might laugh with you or they might not. And also another thing, don't expect anyone to be there straight away on a Facebook Live, because it takes time for people to know that you're going to be there. First of all, you might not have told them, so they won't know. If you appear, they might press if they're around, but they might not know. If there's a way with Facebook Live to warn your audience, okay, so that's possibly a good idea to warn your audience, so that at least they're going to know an awareness you're coming. But a lot of people think, oh, I should have all these people coming, so I'll just wait. Well, you can wait forever. A lot of the Facebook Lives are watched on replay. So you can wait a bit, a few seconds are fine, but eventually you may as well get on. You may as well get on. Start, if you're thinking Facebook Lives or videos are good for your social media strategy, start thinking of planning. What am I going to talk about in relation to basically your audience? What is the problem I'm solving? Or what is the benefit I'm adding? So therefore, you need to start planning it. Now, you don't have to plan too much because it's quite nice to be spontaneous, but I don't come to life with not knowing at least 3 things in my head I'm going to talk about. Usually I do everything in 3. It's much easier because, you know, then you're addressing something. Oh, today I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to give you 3 tips about it. And then it's quite easy to remember. And the end, the last thing is having a call for action. It's nice to say to people, oh, bye-bye, but they don't necessarily know where to find you again. So as you know, if you want to connect with me, find me on my Facebook page or give me a like, and then put obviously the resources below or up. I never remember this down, up. So I have a tendency to do this on my videos. Just give me a like there or there, somewhere. And the problem is that at the beginning it's so scary. People are like robots. Hang on to be yourself. Nobody else. Everybody else is taken. Be yourself. Everybody else taken. Just accept that it's okay to be just the way you are.
Yep.
Okay. I hope this was helpful.
I think it definitely was, and I just remembered I was trying to think that, you know, the times back. I think what really helped me, and it might sound like an awful strategy to think of, but I thought for myself, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? If I get a bad feedback, I delete it. You know, no one will ever remember, and there is so much content, I would say, online these days that tomorrow no one will even remember. And, you know, I think so far what I have seen or observed is it's very rare that people would bother now with the giving really like a bad comment or a bad feedback, because they just move on. The social media these days, especially on Facebook, other social networks, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, there's so much content that people just swipe, like the next. And maybe this even takes me on to the next question, like how do you mention, if you want to engage your audience right from the beginning, mention that pain points, but how do you do that? Like, how do you really, you know, connect with that pain point right away to get them, you know, to get them hooked right from the beginning using this public speaking?
Questions are often a good starting point. Sometimes, I've done it a few times, I don't do it all the time, it's actually doing something physical to, you know, just, you know, I was pointing once, I can't remember exactly where, you know, pointing. So it looked as if I was doing something very strange, just to, so a bit of intrigue. So it's a bit, oh, what's she doing? What's she doing? One thing I'm also looking at, which I think would help my business, is having, but I haven't done it yet, funny enough, because being online all the time I've been online all the time since April, so still early days, is having captions or subtitles. Because apparently, or that's what the internet is saying, but I don't trust all the statistics these days. They are saying that a lot of people actually watch videos with the sound off. And it's true that if you are somewhere with someone next to you and you haven't got headphones, you might want to watch a video, but you can't do it then. But if there's captions, so I think that's something to start thinking about having if you want to attract attention. I think the key as well, if you want to be seen, is start to have regular slots. So you actually you start, telling the audience, I will come live at that time I suppose like you, every week. So they get used to a rhythm and a pattern. And then, little by little, they'll appreciate what you're presenting. It's not always a fast thing, isn't it? I mean, and the audience can vary. And because there's a lot of information out there, you obviously need to make sure that your message is very much targeting at what they need. But in a way, the rest is very much like a blog, because you would give tips, bits of your knowledge, suggestions of what I can do, your own, sometimes a bit of your story into it to explain a point. I mean, a lot of my, I don't know, wisdom is the right word, but all my understanding has been based on things I've experienced, and then I've made sense of it, and I often deconstruct them. Like I've done videos on how to run a successful, difficult meeting. So the first video is about, how I did the meeting, but the second one is about actually what meeting it was, and actually a real story. So it's being able to give the stories. I mean, stories make people tick. It's good. Also, don't forget everything to do with testimonials, case studies. It's good every so often to even read a testimonial on today, I had that client and he said that, and it was wonderful. Especially in the early days when you need social proof, when you need to, people to start to understand what you're doing and you mean business. Because obviously that takes a bit of time, doesn't it?
Clear. I think we've covered a lot. I think it's a lot for people to take in. So I would now give the space, if that is okay, to the questions that we have here. We have actually a question from Andrea, and she's asking, Andrea is from Luxembourg. So hi, Andrea. She's actually our regular, I would say, a guest who comes and listens to us to all these live interviews, which is really great. Andreas is asking, Helen, what is your tip if you're in the situation that you are speaking in front of a group and somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer to? So what would be your tip?
My best tip is to send it back to the group. Yes, you're talking about, has anyone got any idea about that? Or would the audience be able to help me along there? And actually 99% of the time you have someone will have the answer or have some understanding, or be able to say, I think it's this, so I think it's that. So and I think we want to set ourselves as experts, but let's say you are doing, mortgages, or let's say you're a financial advisor. Or you are supposed to know about lots of different things like mortgage and pension and all this, but you must specialize in mortgage. So if the question you're being asked about pension, you might think, I haven't got a clue, because that's not my area of expertise. And even if you're in mortgage, you won't know all the rates, let's say the latest rates for all the mortgage from the top of your head, because you possibly have to research it. So you can't have all the answers. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's not a problem. The problem is more to say, well, in another way you can answer my questions. Also say, well, I'm not entirely sure. I will research it and I'll get back to you either later on, or I'll send you an email or something, if nobody can help. But often putting it to the room is a nice way of engaging the rest of the people, because they're often as knowledgeable as you are, or they might have an idea. So
you can ask the audience. Also, maybe you could even encourage the person who's asked, like, what would be their answer? Because sometimes I think people do have an opinion on that, at least that they could share. And from my expertise, I also learned it's okay to know haven't come across this specific problem as yet. So yeah, let's ask the audience, and also let me come back to you on these. Let's
that's right.
exchange the contact details. I think it's actually human to show that we do not know. It doesn't mean that we are not experts. But I think what makes the difference is how you phrase it, how you. If I all of a sudden show that I'm not confident, I'm not comfortable to answer that question, I think this is where the my expertise, I would say, would be knocked down a little bit. But if I come with full confidence, yeah, it's an interesting question, one I haven't actually come across yet. So engage the group and agree with the person to maybe even have a follow-up call and conversation. And who knows, you may even turn this person into a client later on.
Definitely, I think definitely, I completely agree, and I think it's more in the way you handle the questions. Questions are very scary for people who are doing public speaking, because they think, oh my God, they're going to find out I don't know everything, or they're going to sort of corner me in. But as long as you are honest and kind and just say, well, I'm not entirely sure, but maybe someone else can help me here, and usually people accept it. It's fine. It's fine not to know everything. Obviously, if the question is so obvious and you should really have researched it, well, maybe for another time you'll know that you need to have that question answered. But it's fine. It's as you say, it's okay to be human. It's okay to be human.
Yeah. So, Andrea, I hope we answered your questions. Feel free to share with us if this resonates and if this has been helpful. Also, I think we are coming towards the end of this interview about your dream job journey and about your great tips on how to help people to overcome the fear of public speaking. So, guys, if you are watching whether live or even from a replay, we'll be absolutely delighted if you can give us short feedback. Share what did you like about this interview? What are the takeaways you are taking that you can implement in your career or in your business right away? And also, if you think that there is something we could improve or any interesting topic that you'd like to know about in the future, we will be very grateful for that. And before we finish off, maybe a final, I would say, you gave us a lot of tips, but what maybe would be quite nice to know would be your words of encouragement. If you imagine, if you put yourself right now in the shoes of someone who is in that situation where they're finding, okay, I'm sitting in this job, I'm no longer waking up excited to go to my work, I'm thinking of a career change, but I don't actually know what else I'm good at, or I don't know if there actually is a dream job, what would be your what are your words of encouragement? Not so much a tip, but if you imagine yourself in this place, maybe even years and years ago,
Yeah,
how
I
would
think.
you encourage
Yeah,
that person?
I think it's have the courage to not necessarily to leave everything. It's not like, this is it, I'm handing in my notice. It's not about that, but thinking, if I really want to do something else, you can. And actually, I was made redundant twice in my career, and every time I was made redundant, something really, really interesting happened, and I ended up in a different job where I really enjoyed. So it's when something quite difficult happens, or having the courage to say, well, I think I'm going to leave, or I'm going to do something else, it's actually in the long term very rewarding, because otherwise you could be spending your time thinking, oh, I should have done this, or I'm too old now and I can't do this. Or, well, first of all, you can, people set up businesses well into their 60s, 70s, so that's fine, and secondly, you don't want to live with regrets. Sometimes you have to do things which are difficult to actually be much more alive, to be this flower and coming out a flower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To blossom.
to blossom. I often talk about my students coming, just being like a little bud and then opening up and then becoming like flowers. I love that image because
they blossom.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Can I mention my Hearts and Business at all? Or is
I was going to say, I did my preparation for this.
Thank you. Yeah, no, sorry. When you're in the middle of venture as an entrepreneur, you get very excited, don't you?
Yes, I was going to say it would be fantastic if you can share with us where can people find you. So feel free to drop any social links or media that you have. And also, I know that you are, I think this is the third hat that you are going to wear, because you're not just a teacher and a public speaking trainer and facilitator, but now also I would say, what's the nice word to put it? For me, it's like a guidance for new startups and emerging entrepreneurs, emerging freelancing businesses, helping them to really empower them, especially at the beginning of the freelancing, because there's a hard time when you have to do everything by yourself, unless you have the money to pay others. But often still just figuring out how you're going to do your business, what's going to be your service, how to run your social media. So, and I know this is something you are strongly passionate about. So tell us more about the upcoming venture that you have, Hearts in Business.
Yes, the Hearts in Business. So just to give you, I'm not going to talk too much, we've taken a lot of time, but the Hearts in Business is a venture I started a few months ago with my virtual assistant. So they are these beautiful people we don't see behind the scene on the internet, and they help a lot of people like me to run our business in a nicer and easier way. And like we put all my content is mine, but they put posts and make some beautiful graphics and things like that, which I'm sort of absolutely incapable of doing. And after a few months of working together, especially with the lockdown and trying to do new work and doing confidence on camera and all this, I talked to Lisa and I said, well, we've got so much resources. We've got, I've got a book, which is there. I don't know if you see it. Power of Outreach Expression. I've got an online course. I've got blogs. And Lisa is equally knowledgeable. She's got things about social media and how to use Facebook and Instagram and graphics and all those things. So we've created the Hearts in Business. And the Hearts in Business is a membership site where you get all these training resources to create and develop your business. But we don't want to leave people. It's all, a lot of them are videos and tutorials or PDF, but we felt it wasn't enough, because it's one thing to have all these resources, it's another thing to go and get the resources and really use them. So we are creating a Facebook group and want to develop a community of people who want to develop their business with us. And we're starting on the 1st of October, which is only a few days away, and at a very low cost. It's very important that it's not expensive. So it's £200 for the year and £20 per month if you don't want to pay for the year and you're not quite sure yet. And you get access to resources, but you get a lot of guidance and a lot of live training, and it will help you to figure out your business, to see what you want to do, how you want to create and develop your business. So it's really exciting. I'm bringing a lot of my work on mindset, confidence on camera, and a little bit of business skills. And Lisa brings all the things which are behind the scene that we usually don't see, but most entrepreneurs need to understand in order to grow. So that's it. So if you want to find out a bit more, drop me a line. We'll put some links, won't we, later on. It'll be lovely to hear from you and to see if once you have decided with Adriana what you're going to transition into, you can come and work with us.
And I would definitely encourage you. Lisa is great. I also know her in person. She's helped me also with some of my designs, so very, very great, and I would say a creative person as well. So when you guys feel ready to take the next step in your freelancing career and you feel that you're ready to take the idea, turn it into an action, I would encourage you. Hearts and Business is a good place to start, especially if you'd like to have a separate right from the beginning. And if you're still, let's say, just thinking about making career change, or just thinking about the jobs and not knowing what to do, you're not clear, you're not confident, or you might just not feeling really right yourself and nothing in your career makes you happy anymore, you know where to find us. Feel free to reach out to zero2dreamjob.com or to myself through this Facebook page, and yeah, we'll be happy to support you. So it's been great to have you today. Thank you very much for watching, and
Thank you
looking
so
forward
much.
to the next interview. And Helen, wishing you good luck with your venture, with your
Thank
business,
you.
and yeah, wishing you that your business continues to flourish and that you empower more people to feel, confident on camera in public speaking.
Thank you so much, Adriana. It was an honor to be here today. And yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. So enjoy your evening, guys. And yes, please remember to give us a feedback below this interview. That would really help us a lot in the future. And bye for now. And looking forward to see you next very, very soon. Bye. Good night.
Good night.